Can you hear me now?
Thanks, J-Bot.
Oh, I did freeze. Oh, goodness.
Oh, I see that.
We can hear ourselves now.
Can you see me? Yeah, you can see me. Yeah, you're frozen. What is
That
going
is not flattering.
All right, hold please. We'll be back. Those dates are all messed up. Yay, audio, but puzzled stuck. Okay, hang on, Keelan. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect. We don't have our DM tech guy here. All right. Oh no, your cam's loading again.
Is it really? Let me turn it back off. Or turn it off. Turn it back on.
There
Does
we
that help?
go.
Yes. Yes.
All right, take two. Keelan, move. Can we see you? Oh, did she freeze again?
No, I'm moving.
Oh no.
Is it at least flattering this time?
You're just looking
Oh, I'm looking at
down.
my phone.
I don't know what to do. Mm.
He said, I was wondering.
Hi, Ryzen. We're having some technical difficulties, so just hang on a second. All right. Keelan. She was moving.
Just our lucky day, guys.
Okay. I think we're good. Are we still live?
We're still. Oh, my bad. Y'all ignore us tonight.
Yeah. We're a hot mess without our dudes, apparently. Okay. Puzzle's here. I'm here. Everything's closed on my computer. She didn't freeze. Her eyes were moving. I see them. Hello. Welcome to take 60 of You Heard Book Club. Woo!
Yes.
The puzzled gone again. Is she back? I can see her.
No, yes, I'm back. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for bearing with us, guys.
Y'all are the real troopers.
Seriously. Love you guys so much. She's nice.
How was y'all's week? Okay. We're glad it's Friday.
Yeah, we're glad too. I hope you guys had a good week. All right. So, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. So, I just want to know off the bat, like right off the bat, what was before we get into story synopsis and everything, like what did you think about the book?
I liked it. Um, I did. I enjoyed it. She created a pretty amazing world with some good backstories and folklore. But as far as like the story with our head girl,
Alina?
Alina, um, I feel it's very surface. So I'm really excited for the second and third book because this is an introductory book. Of course, it's going to be a little bit surface. But hopefully with the second and third ones, we really get into some depth. So I'm excited about that and what's to come.
And then you watched the show too, right? So, like, how shocked were you when you watched the show compared to the book?
Um, well, there's a huge shock factor in the fact that the show has merged and intertwined with another book. Um, The Six Crows. Is it just Six Crows? I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. The Six Crows. It's like I don't know, like a trilogy, but with two. A duo.
They work together, right? Um, and I really loved seeing that. I loved the characters from Six Crows. I thought they were fun. I can't wait to read their story because I feel like it's gonna be, is it the same author or is it a different author?
Same.
Same author?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On her
I
website, you
thought it
can
was a different
find the reading order, which I didn't know. And I started the second book, and you're supposed
author.
to read.
There's a reading order.
There is a reading order. I'll send you the link.
I love books with I love books with reading orders. I don't know why, but it makes them more intricate and a lot more fun.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I have to agree with you that it scratched the surface with Alina because there's a lot of things that I didn't understand why she was doing them. Like it seemed rushed in the show and it seemed to rush in the book. So I watched the show first and then I read the book because usually when I read the book first and then I watch the show, I hate the show or the movie. So I try to watch it and then read it so I don't hate it as much.
Right.
Um, but with Alina, like it was hard to kind of connect with her. So like when the story opens up, her and Mal are like kids, they're orphans from what happened in the fold. It shows her, you know, kind of fudging her Grisha tests, so to speak. And I couldn't understand why. Like other than Mal, like I don't know how she felt as a kid is probably like I don't want to leave my friend, he's the only person I have in the world. But as an adult and discovering this power that she came to have, and we'll get to that in a second, I I wonder if Alina was battling with guilt.
Of not going with the Grecias
Yeah,
or
I'm not
becoming.
like not becoming a Grisha sooner because she could have helped with the
Mm.
fold in some way.
I mean, we do kind of see her struggle with that closer to the end. And that's good for her to reflect on. But no, I don't think she would give up those years without Mal.
Yeah,
Like
probably.
Ryzen says, it gives a sense of her filling in the time with her second guessing herself every step of the way. I would hope it may be a build up for the rest of the books.
And
No,
it
Ryzen, you said gassing. You did.
gassing her up. She needs it. She lacks confidence in every way. So, she and Mal, obviously very important person to her. They go through the orphanage, they grow up, they join the army, which is the second army. It was the first army. The second army is the Grisha.
Mm.
And yeah, and then they have to cross the shadow fold. So this was like a difference between the show and the book. In the show, Alina set fire to maps that they really needed, so it made a reason for her to go to into the fold with Mal. In the book, they were already set to go together. And basically, how they got across this fold, at this point, like, we don't really know very much about it in either the show or the book. We just know that it's this big shadow, smoky area. And
Blackness.
yeah, it's just darkness, and there's monsters in there. And they have like these things called skiffs, and they basically float like across the sand. And they're squallers, which are Grisha, they're magic users. They push the boat across the fold, and it has to be complete darkness because there are creatures in the fold that are called Volcra. So at this point in the book and the show, it's tense. It's a little tense on this boat. And then the Volcra start coming around, and it becomes almost like a feeding frenzy. Like their Grisha that they had on that skiff was like no match for these Volcra. And when all hope was lost, something happens. And Mal was he was injured, and Alina was being picked up by this Volcra like the claw at like a crane game, and was picking her up. And I think at that moment she knew that that was the end of her and Mal, and her emotion really came out, and she became like a little star. She, dissipated that darkness, and she illuminated it, and then she passes out. And when she comes to, she has a gun pointed at her face.
Poor kid. Also, real quick, hi Peach.
Hi,
How are
Peach.
y'all?
Are you guys having a good time? Also, 10 months. Oh my god. Oh my god. Have you been
Right.
affiliated that long?
It doesn't feel like it. Almost a whole year.
Yeah. Peach, I am so glad that you weren't here for the beginning of the stream because it was a hot mess express, but we managed to pull through.
Got this.
You got this. Strong, independent woman that don't need no man.
No,
So
and for
go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead. You go.
No, you're good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You go.
Go.
Um. So yeah, at this point, like she doesn't even know what happened. Nobody really knows what happens, but everybody's kind of scared of her, but they also don't want to touch her, and they're kind of treating her with kid gloves, if you will. And she actually gets summoned to the Darklings, which is this general that we don't really know that much about. He's called the Darkling because he wears black. And he's a shadow summoner. And she has to go and see this guy. So that's really where we're at this point.
And like for Alina, the Darkling is very much like high hierarchy. Like they live in this world where they have a king who presides over supposed to be, kind of this middle area of the land. And then the Darkling is his right-hand man, but we kind of see that he has a little bit more authority because he's just very respected, very feared. Um, the Grecias that he has around him, they are very top of their class types.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he's part of the Second Army, and we come to know him as General Kerrigan, and everybody else calls him the Darkling because he's one of the only Shadow Summoner that we know of, and he brings Alina into this, I don't know, like tent, like this luxurious tent almost. And he asks her, like, what are you? And she's like, I'm a map maker. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even know what happened. And he does a Grisha test, which is like, you have to reach like a pain threshold for their powers to show through. And when he does that, wait, did he like summon the shadow and then have her do the light? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay.
He did the shadow, he cut her in the arm, and that's when she's like, psh, explode. Everybody's like, oh my God.
And like people are honestly at this point so shook, right? Like they've been waiting for a sun summoner, like it's in their literal religion. And at this point, in Shadow and Bone, to be completely honest with you, you hear a lot about saints, and you hear about Alina, the sun summoner, being a saint, but we don't really know too much about Ravka's like religion or anything like that. But people are on their knees and they are just so amazed. Oh my gosh, this Messiah, this Savior is here. And it's this scared girl, orphan girl, who never has the confidence in herself. And she's like often described in the book as like very plain looking. It's just interesting. Malnourished, poor girl. So he ends up like, yep, like we need you, and they take her to Little Palace. Which Little Palace is not so little, and it's where the second army, which is full of Grisha, they're magic users. They train and they hold balls and they live like a very lavish lifestyle, which is nothing that Alina has ever known because she grew up an orphan in an orphanage, and then she immediately joined the army. So to see the Grisha being treated like this is kind of like almost like a sting, I would say, but also like she wasn't really interested in it. Like all she wanted to do was get back to Mal because she didn't really know if he was okay or not.
Yeah. And she was scared like the entire ride there. They put her in a carriage and they rode the horses like as fast as they could. They're trying to get her to the little palace as fast as possible. Um, she doesn't know what's going on, if he's okay, because I don't think in the book she actually got to see him before she left.
She didn't.
No. In the show she did.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of like stood up for her, was like, she's just a map maker. Um, but yeah. So when she gets to the little palace, it's very culture shock for her. Because she's always been on the low end of the totem pole. And, especially in this world, she brought herself up into the army from the orphanage. And so now coming in to the lavish palace when they're supposed to be going through this wartime is definitely shocking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ryzen, who do you think is someone's favorite character? So she goes to this palace, and it's kind of expected with her, like of her, that she's going to train with Grisha. She evaded the Grisha test when she was younger. She's older. Her powers, we have no idea what her powers could be, like what their potential is, and everybody wants to, I guess, like ladle her with expectations and appearances and things that she's just not used to. Um, and she sucks at it. She really does. Like she's terrible at combat training. She does training with a Grisha named Bagra, and Bagra's so like hard on her. Like like you're a stupid girl. Like you need to know how to use your powers. And I guess like tries to take the anger approach. Like if it's emotion that she needs to feel, like maybe if she's angry, she'll use her powers. And through the
Um,
oh, go ahead.
no, you're good.
Uh,
Shall I cut you, little girl? You right, Ryzen.
so she ends up kind of coming to this conclusion that she can't use her powers, and the weight of everything is just really weighing down on her. She is being told that her purpose is to destroy the fold. She's given people hope. People are worshiping her, and she doesn't want to let them down, basically. Like, I'm just this one person, this orphan girl that, no one really cared about. And now all of a sudden I'm looked to save us all. And honestly, like, I kind of feel that. Like, that kind of sucks. And of course, she makes like friends with Jenya, like Ryzen mentioned in the chat. Jenya, she's a tailor, so she can alter your appearance. So she's usually the handmaid of the queen. Um, and she becomes like a close friend with Alina. So through all this, Alina ends up discovering, like I need to let go of my past. I've written Mal over and over again. He's never written me back. He must be mad at me. And when she was younger, to pass the Grisha test, she pressed something into her palm and it created a scar on her palm. And Mal, when he was a child, he saw that she would constantly trace the line of the scar. She made one on his hand too, so it was like they were linked. So she has Jenya, who is a tailor, remove the scar from her hand and thus like letting Mal go in order to access her power.
So at this point, she's spent months studying Grisha history, um, working with Bagra, doing cardio, actually eating full meals. And we get to see her kind of grow a little bit as a person. Because this is the first time she's been on her own, because she's always had Mal with her by her side.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of get to see who she is individually.
Yeah. And she doesn't know who that person is, so she's trying to like find it. So then, like, a love interest starts developing with the Darkling, right? Like, he's mysterious and commanding, and, he wears a different color Grisha robe that anybody else does. And it's almost like a little, I don't know, at first I was very, like, Edward Cullen, I think, into being like, oh, Kiergan, like, look at this guy. He wants to change the world. Dumb. So that's all going on. Now let's cut to Mal. So Mal is in the same boat as Alina. Like, he's pissed that he's written her and she's never written him back. Like, what the fuck is her problem? Like, she thinks she's a Grisha and she's all high and mighty now. And he ends up seeing a report that there's something called Morozova's herd, which is like this mystical deer. And it's been spotted. And it's been passed down like legend to legend. And everybody doesn't really believe that they're actually, actual beings. And Mal just has this feeling in his heart that it's connected with Alina. And he ends up going out to scout with other people. Oh, what's up,
Real,
Beards?
right?
My friend! Beards, it's a good book if you like to read. I'd recommend it. But the first book scratches the surface. I'm hoping that the other books give us more depth. So Mal goes out and tries to, he actually finds the stag, and he ends up crossing into enemy territory, and they fuck him up, and he barely escapes with his life. And he ends up going to the palace to to report that he's actually seen the stag. Love reading. Aw, Beers, I knew we were friends. Mm-hmm. So during this time, Alina's trying to prepare. She's learning to master her powers a little bit better. And the king and queen have this fete coming up, where all these Grisha summoners are expected to put on a performance. And she has to display her powers. So all these countries' leaders, if you will, are coming to witness her power, and it's hopefully going to strengthen the kingdom and a message of hope for Ravka, and hopefully destruction of the Shadowfold. And her powers, as soon as she lets Mal go, like, her powers really start to come into her own. Like, she can do things that she never thought she would, and she feels better. So in the book, she's always described as this plain girl, malnourished, underweight, and when she starts using her powers, like, she fills out, because her energy is not spent keeping her power suppressed. It's using it and thriving in it, and it's lightness.
Oh my God, the metaphor.
Yeah, the metaphor. So after she puts on this performance, she does great. Her and Kiergan kind of go to his study slash room and they have a moment. And you're like, ooh, like what's going to go on here? And then he gets word that somebody is there to report that they saw the stag. And he leaves Alina. When he leaves Alina, Bagra comes and gets Alina and tells her that she has to leave. She knows that he's looking for the stag. There's a reason behind it, and she's trying to urge him to leave, or her to leave. And she ends up discovering, or ends up telling Alina a little bit about his history and a little bit about the fold. So we learn more about it in the book.
Well, and he tells Alina the entire months that they start searching for the stag that if he cuts off the antlers of the stag for her, he can create it into a necklace so that it will amplify her power. So it'll make her stronger so that she can finally bring down the fold and they'll be able to do it together.
Hmm. You
And
and
it's
I are going to
very
change the world.
like,
Yeah. So she
um,
really wants to believe him.
yeah. But, when Bagra shows up, she finally tells Alina about the Darkling's history, who he really is.
So how the fold was
Um,
created was
hmm
a shadow summoner, and his they called him the Black Heretic. So at this point, the Grisha have been discriminated against, killed, trafficked, basically, and enslaved in some ways. Whether it was for religious reasons or for value reasons. They were treated like animals, and he was trying to be part of this movement to bring the Grisha out of hiding and really show, like, hey, like we're we're people of worth, basically. And the straw broke the camel's back for him was like a personal friend of his dying from the hands of this other army, and he's pissed. He's super mad, and he reads a spell that he should not have read, and he ends up summoning this strength inside of him, and from there he creates the fold out of his emotion. And every living being that was in the fold when it was created turned into those horrible monsters called Volcra, where they basically just eat people or whatever wanders into the fold. So he ends up disappearing. He goes under different names. He serves under different kings, and he's just waiting. He's waiting for his chance, for the Sun Summoner to come, because he knows that he can use the Sun Summoner to his advantage for more power. It sounds like the show falls. It does, Beards. The only difference is that the in the show it has the whole coup to try to kidnap Alina with the thieves, and that's part of another set of books by the same author. So you don't see that in Shadow and Bone. Yeah, Peach is on his guy trip. Bromanski getaway. Um, so
we're okay. So first poll question: how shocked were you when you found out that the Darkling was the Black Heretic?
I mean, in the book, like it's like pretty obvious. They could literally call him the Darkling.
But he was so convincing with the story of his grandfather.
I know. I wanted to believe him so bad, especially like watching the show first. It's like, I'm not gonna lie, man's attractive, and then yeah,
Yeah.
I got Edward Cullen, okay. I wasn't shocked. Yeah, I mean the guy's power is darkness, and it's super rare, right? Like in my
Hmm.
mind, I mean, so what happens is like we don't see too much of this in Shadow and Bone, but I got a little bit more history in the following book, and it's not a major spoiler. So basically, from the fold, the Grisha end up becoming very valuable to fight against the fold. So that's when the second army was created. Maybe that was in the first book, but
Was.
it was, yeah. So he has like this whole second army, and of course the king wants to make sure that his kingdom's protected, and he'll use Grisha. But the Darkling has other motives beyond just human. Like he wants the Grisha to be the conquerors. Like he wants them to be superior to everybody else, or just basic humans. And why he needs the stag is an amplifier, and the amplifier is, a Grisha can only use one, right, to make their powers more intense.
Soulbind.
Yeah. But he can't, he wants to use multiple. And just because it says like, oh, like it's greedy to use more than one, he's like, well, there's not like a law against it, so we're gonna do it.
Well, and he's also a living amplifier. So it's like, how many amplifiers does this guy need?
Yeah. You got sucked in by a pretty face, don't judge a book by its cover. Oh my gosh, Beards, you're so right. I saw the show and didn't realize it was the book. What do you mean, J-Bot?
I think she read the book and then saw the show and then didn't put the two together.
J-Bot actually did not read this book. I think she may have saw the
Oh.
show like when it first came out. Um so anyway, Alina ends up like escaping, and she runs into this town. She ends up finding out that Mal had tracked her down. So when all this was going down, she escaped. Darkling's like, oh shit. He was talking to the Darkling at this time. He puts two to two together, and he's a tracker. Like he's an expert hunter, and he ends up tracking her down, and finding her. So they kind of have like this little tiff of like, you didn't write me, their notebook moment, right? I wrote you 365 letters. I wrote you every day of the year. Um, so anyway,
So
they're
sweet.
trying, yeah, they're just trying to like find a way out. But or they're trying to find the stag first, and then after they dispose of the stag, so the Darkling doesn't get it, they plan to escape. And they have some side conversation going on about like, I guess, like their wants and needs, and there's some miscommunication, but you can kind of feel that there's something there, because in the beginning it was more of like a brotherly sisterly type of bond, like they're the only people there for them.
Kind of
uh
points out too, like she's like, yeah, all of the guys love Mal. And she tries to lie to herself, I think, in the beginning, where she's like, he's just a brother. But you kind of also, reading the book, you see that underlying, yeah, I'm in love with him. What do you want from me?
yeah, yeah. So they end up sharing a kiss, and right after they kiss, the stag appears in a clearing where they were at. So Mal's about to kill the stag, and Alina kind of looks into the stag's eyes and says, "Wait, there's something else here." So at that moment, of course, the Darkling is also tracking these guys. He arrives, and they fire an arrow at the stag. Um, and whenever they're about to actually kill the stag, Alina like flings her body over it and is like, "No, don't kill it! Like it has to be more to this." And she tries to use her light to battle the Darkling's darkness, basically, but she's just not strong enough. Like she hasn't been training that long. This guy has hundreds of years on her in terms of training. Um, she tries to tell Mal like, please kill me, like, so he can't do this, he can't use me, he can't use this amplifier. But Darkling ends up overpowering her and Mal. So then he the way he kills the stag is just so crazy. Like same thing that happened in the show. Like he used his like cut thing to like cut off the stag's head. Same thing happened in the book. It's very unsettling. And he
Hi,
takes her down.
crazy.
He takes her back to the palace. Hi, crazy. It is right out there. Oh, what did you get me, Peach? Actually, don't tell me. I want to be surprised.
I want to know.
So, this is all, it's all coming to a head of like what exactly she's beginning to understand what her purpose is. Out of the antlers of the stag, they make a necklace for her. And whenever Kurgan or Darkling and her are bonding together as amplifiers, the antler necklace ends up sinking into her skin and becomes like a collar around her, which is also like very metaphorical, right? Like she's basically chained like a dog to the Darkling.
Hmm. And so he puts it on her right before he goes to try to travel through the fold. She is terrified, but and she wants to run away. She wants to just like jump off the ship or, do something to hurt herself. But the Darkling is keeping Mal hostage. So he's like, if you don't listen to what I say, I'm gonna hurt him. And so the big moment comes. They jump off their skiffs. And real quick, for those of y'all who have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, these boats. They look like the sandbender boats, and that's exactly what they do. Except for the squallers use air to go through the sails to sail them across. Sorry, I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, no, no.
Go
It is
ahead.
really cool. It is really cool.
Schluck. Oh no, I only have water, sir.
Yeah. We're being hydrated and healthy today.
You like my straw?
It is really cute. So on this skiff trip across the fold, basically the purpose is for the Darkling to demonstrate Alina's power and basically making it a power move. He invited these different leaders from different countries surrounding, and they go into the fold. She holds the light, but she's literally chained to the skiff, like she's chained down. Um, and then I think
So,
Mal.
okay, so real quick, the way the antlers worked was they weren't just an amplifier for her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the lore behind that was whoever kills the stag has control over the amplifier. So the way that worked is once she was chained with the collar and it connected with her, she couldn't really use her powers on her own, but she could basically hear like the Darkling in her mind, and he controlled her power fully.
Mm-hmm.
Like she had absolutely no choice whatsoever in it. So they go into the fold, and the pterodactyl things, they call, what are they called? Volcrums?
Volcras.
Volcrus.
Yeah.
The Volcrus come and they start attacking everybody. So he starts to control her, has her shining bright, so they kind of stay backwards. And the entire time she's in her head and she's like, I don't want to do this. There has to be some way I can fight this. Like she's not giving up, which go Lena,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
Um, and she starts to think about the way that the magic works because she's been studying magic. She's been learning the history. She's been learning what makes it tick, how it works. And she's like, I saved the stag's life. That actually should give me more power than somebody killing it. And we see her internal struggle and her fighting back against the Darkling in her head. And finally, she's actually able to gain control of it completely. Breaks his hold. It's a very monumentous moment for her.
It
Go,
is,
Lena.
but there was a motivator behind that. So they're basically about to exit the fold, and then the Darkling halts the skiff, and then he uses his power to divert the fold over this town, and it's basically a show of power of saying like, listen, I can control the fold, I can mess up all y'all's countries, so you're gonna do it my way now, and then that was also like the motivator for Alina to like regain her powers and causes everything to go crazy. So it's now darkness. She can't summon her light very much, and all these Volcra are picking off these ambassadors from other countries. Um, and then and then Mal's also there. So Mal's like also being held on the skiff as a hostage, and she she ends up like jumping off the boat with Mal after Mal and like the Darkling have a little mano y mano fisticuffs fight. And she's able to fend off the Volcra, and leave the Darkling there to deal with like his creation, and they manage to make it out of the fold. Um, so the book ends with Mal and Alina kind of heading north, basically escaping, and they hear a lot about the Sun Summoner. Wild times, yes, absolutely. So that's kind of where Shadow and Bone pretty much ends. At this point, the Darkling is supposedly dead. That's what, Lena thinks. And she's trying to escape with Mal and trying to get out of the country. Hype. All right. Discussion questions now that you guys know the story. Well, actually, we had some poll questions that we didn't do. So, which team were you on? Mal or the Darkling? I think everybody has the same answer. um,
If the Darkling had been genuine, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But no. Verizon said actually.
Oh, okay. Let's hear your thoughts, Ryzen. Here's another kind of fun question. So, what kind of Grisha would you be? Mal, me. I wasn't at first. So there's a couple of different types of Grisha. So there's heart renders, and they can control other people's heartbeats. There's a tide maker, which they deal with water. A tailor, which is the person that can fix things cosmetically. A healer, obviously heals people. The squallers deal with the air, so like Puzzle was talking about, like very last air bendery. The Inferni, they deal with fire. The alchemy, which is they deal with like more alchemy based stuff. The Duress, which is like the metal workers that make these amplifiers for the Grisha. And then this one wasn't in Shadow and Bone, but there's another one called a Corpse Witch, which is basically a necromancer.
Oh, that's cool. And Ryzen says Mao was a bit of an a-hole for waiting so long and going after other girls. And I think that really sucks for Mao because he didn't realize his feelings for her until she was taken for him. So basically, in a short sense, Mao took Alina for granted.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What kind of Grisha would you be, Puzzled?
Oh, um, I don't know. Maybe a tide maker?
That'd be kind of cool. Like Aquaman style. I
J-Bot says she'd be a necromancer.
Raisin says, yeah, but it makes him look like a douche. Now I do not have you. I will throw a fit. Probably go with Tide too. Yeah, I mean, but like hindsight's 2020. I mean, I've known
Yeah.
a lot of people that have like, oh, like no, that won't work out, but then they end up actually realizing, oh wait, you're the person for me. I was just being dumb.
What kind of Gensha would you be?
I would be, I think, an alchemy Grisha, because only because like I think it would be really interesting and fascinating. But if I was just going off like my first intuition, it would probably be like a healer.
Aw, CC.
True, I get that. Do not act mad about it. Yeah, I get you, Raisin. Like blaming
Yeah.
her for being happy with someone else. Yeah, he was really salty about her relationship with the Darkling. Speaking of, do you guys feel like there's anything redeemable about the Darkling at all? Like, could he have been turned around? I don't think so. And that's only
That's
because
hard.
like I want to believe the best of everybody of like no, like you have a choice, right? Like everything's a choice. Everything's an opportunity to turn something around. But he's had hundreds of years to kind of just wait and plan and plot. And his desire for power, I think, outweigh his feeling of humanity. Like the way he talked about regular, humans. Like, oh, you're going to outlive Mal. Like, there's no purpose in continuing this lusting after him. Um, he just had no regard for anybody else but himself. So I don't think so. I would hope so, but I don't think so.
Yeah, he's been so focused for so long. It's going to take something to really change his perspective, and I don't know what that would be.
He's so smart. He's very smart. I mean, he was able to get out of the fold with just like a scratch on his face from the Volcra. Um, and that in itself is like amazing. I mean, he is very powerful, but anyway. Um,
Um, so what did you think of Genya?
um, I didn't trust her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was about her. I didn't trust her, and I didn't trust her in the show either. So she ends up coming like when Kiergan ends up taking Alina back. She got a promotion. She finally got her Gracia color, so she's no longer just a tailor. She's part of the Second Army, and basically the Darkling staged a very clever and sneaky coup on the kingdom to take over. So the king is sick. The queen doesn't hold any power at all. And the king himself is just a sick puppy anyway. Um, and he's the commander for the armies, and now he's assuming he has access to his power basically.
Yeah.
Don't be so
In
hard
the
on Mal. He was just being a guy. To me, the show makes her look worse than Mal. It doesn't show Mal as much. Yeah.
I don't know. Genya in the book, I didn't really trust her just because I kind of thought she would be kind of a snooty girl, being a part of the queen and all that other stuff. But in the show, I found her to be a very likable character. She didn't really feel malicey with me or, anything like that.
She ended up redeeming herself in some aspect. And I think that Jinya, I think she wanted to do good, but like she had a life
Mhm.
of just being used a lot, that it was like her time, like I want this, I've worked for this, I've done this, like I've had to do things I didn't want to do. She kept Mal's letters from Alina, and same thing like
Is this
Alina's
the one who
letters.
did it?
Yeah, she was the one who did it. She admitted it.
Oh,
Hmm.
I must have like got excited and skipped over that part.
I feel like the book.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Good.
sorry. Raisin says, I feel like the first book's whole moral message was that we do live in a society where all try to fit in, even at the cost of hiding who we really are. That's a great take, Raisin. I 100% agree with you. I also think, too, it's just like working collaboratively, and like there's so much prejudice in this book. You have the Shuhan people, which are, I mean, Alina's part Shu, so she's always discriminated against for how she looks. um
Yeah. That part wasn't in the book. It was only in the show. And I thought it was like an intense change.
yeah.
Because part of me was just like, why? You
you,
know?
you see a little bit more of it in the second book. Now, I'm not done with the second book completely,
Oh,
but
okay.
you see a little bit more. And I think that's like the problem with Shadow and Bone, is that it was so good. Like, I love this world that Leigh Bardugo made. Like, I want more of it. And I just feel like book one should have been so much longer, and like it should have had more of a build up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is I will continue reading it. But what about you guys? Like, will you continue reading it? Puzzled, now that you know there's a reading order, will you continue reading the rest?
Of course. But I have to include now the Six Crows.
Yes,
Um,
1000% Raisin.
I love I love building. You know, we've read Beauty and the Beast by K.M. Shea last month. And that's all she does is world book. She has three different series that go in and out of each other and they weave. Um, and so I'm really hoping to see that with this too. The weaving, the bringing everything together. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, any parting words about Shadow and Bone? Anything, if you could sum up your experience, how would you do it? I, like I said, like the world. So I want to see more. The second book's really interesting. A new character gets introduced, and it's spicy.
Oh, I live for the spice.
A little spicy spice. So,
Um,
puzzled. What is our next book? Uh oh.
that is a great question.
Puzzled froze.
I froze. Oh
You're like mid blink. I think you're coming back.
no. Oh goodness.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Am I
Yes.
back?
Yes, I will. We'll get book two, but I need to finish the third book, Renegade. That book, oof, it does impress in a way. It does impress in the way it goes. Yes, it was very on the surface, so looking forward to going much deeper. But I have a question for you, ladies. Okay, what's your question, Ryzen? Um, yeah, our next book.
Okay. So our next book is actually going to be one that I just read for my young adult class. Um, Not because I fully came unprepared for this, but because it is actually amazing. And it does a lot of world building as well. It is also a magic book.
Ooh, is that the one you were talking about in Discord?
Yes, Disney's gonna make it into a movie.
Yes.
So I was actually gonna hold it off until like the movie came out. Now I'm just like, oh, I totally came unprepared for. We're gonna do it now. I'm gonna go ahead and put the link in the chat. So Shadow and Bone is written by Tomi Adeyemi. I completely butchered that. I'm really sorry. Um, but it is about this. Okay. So in this world, if you are born with the ability to do magic, you are born with solid white hair and are called a diviner. After you
Ooh.
turn 13, you start to get your magic and you are called a magi. So we follow this young girl who actually went through a king's crucifixion of the magi. He went through and wiped them all out because magic disappeared.
Oh my god. It's like a genocide.
Yes, exactly what it is. But I thought it was very new. I thought it was refreshing. And it was really awesome because it came from the author actually based it off of West African cultures. So we get to see something that we've never really seen before. And I'm so excited for
Okay, I'm excited about this. So our website will be
it.
updated probably by tonight, but by tomorrow. Um, and okay, what did Ryzen say? He says, I only read the book, so I did not see the series yet. But based on how the characters seem in the book, I would change Mal's character in the series. Who would you ladies put as Mal or the Darkling if you could, or would you leave it the way it is? I personally would imagine Mal as Alexander Ludwig and the Darkling as Ian Somerhalder. Somerhalder. I can never say that guy's name. But he's the hot brother from Vampire Diaries. J-Bot agrees. I like Kiergan. I like the actor for the Darkling as is, but I do see him being a really good Darkling too. And for Mal, I like Mal's character. Maybe.
Oh, Ian would have been a really good Darkling. He
Mm-hmm.
would have. He got that goth vibe going on.
All right, Ryzen, you got it. We have a raid request for emo goth boyfriend.
So NJ, are we going to be continuing this series for chapter two?
Yes. So chapter two. Yes. So chapter two is
Ah.
available for our subs. And basically we will have a discussion much like this, but without the summary. And we will actually chat 101 in Discord. So it won't be live streamed. It'll be just be a discussion. We haven't picked a date just yet, but as soon as we do, we'll let you guys know so we can cover the rest of the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Now, if you want to read the Six of Crows or follow the reading order, you're more than welcome to. I know I will be, so I can provide some context in case you guys don't. Um, awesome. Well, we are going to raid Emogoth Boyfriend. Tomorrow, Puzzled, what are we doing?
We have D&D Dynamite. I don't know why I do that every time. But
It makes me want
I'm
to do that
super
too.
excited. Okay, cool. Yay. I'm super excited because you guys have finally are you're finally getting to kick some booty and y'all have made it under the Tressador Manor. Will y'all make it through the red brands? Y'all done pretty well so far. Y'all fought off this big telepathic creature. Y'all killed off some bugbears and adopted a goblin. Um, and killed a couple of red brands. So I'm excited to see where y'all go. Because it's always so interesting. Because I've ran this campaign before, right? But with different people. And to see the differences between the two campaigns, it's like it's so crazy because y'all came in a different way than the other group did. And so it's interesting to see the choices that go into how each groups have decided how they're going to go, you know?
Yep. Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, because I played in your other campaign and I haven't finished it yet. We need to finish our campaign.
I
So
know.
I think back to like what we had initially thought, and it's totally different. It's so different, different people, different experiences, but it did not take away from the story at all. Like I was worried, like oh, like I kind of already know, but I mean, you get thrown things all the time, DM, that you are not expecting to deal with.
Gary, why are you asking what the different figurines are in the woodcarver's shop? I was not prepared for this. But I love that he's challenging me in some aspects. So it's really great. You know, we have a good group. What are you streaming tomorrow too, aren't you, Boo?
Yeah, I'm gonna stream after D&D. I'm gonna do 4 to 6 Central Time, 5 to 7 Eastern Time, and I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I'm trying to decide if I want to paint or if I want to play some games. I did download Skyrim on the Xbox, so
Oh.
maybe I'll hook up the Xbox instead of my Switch. Try that out.
Oh
See
wow.
see what that's about. Um, but we'll see. And then tomorrow night, I have a little girls
We
get
rated.
together.
We rated.
We rated? Okay.